We also have an incentive for Giraffe and Annika to play the boss fights on hard instead of easy. It will raise the difficulty of the game. We're looking for $1,000 to raise the difficulty of that game. We're sitting at 25. Okay, well, it looks like we have Garby the Glitcherous, playing Katamari Forever for us right now. I'm so excited. Okay, yeah, just a moment, folks. Just a moment. All right, there we go. We actually have Lastly, as expected, we have Lastly playing Try of Friendship and Madness. Please excuse the confusion. My apologies. Please take it away, Lastly.
Hey there, thank you. Yes. I'm Lastly's Try, and I'll just get going here right away. Start in 3, 2, 1, go. So, this first level, it's a tutorial level, and we don't want to do a tutorial, so instead we're going to do a save warp and skip the entire thing. And what a save warp is you mash quick save and quick load very quickly, and what we think is happening is the game gets confused as to where you're supposed to be, and so it just sends you to a default location in the level, and in these first two levels, it's very beneficial where it sends you. If I can get it in the second level. In that first level, it saves about a minute, and in the second level, it would save about 30-40 seconds if I got it first try. So now the second level, it's kind of teaching us the basic structure of the game. We have to pick up 3 of these red fox statues, and then bring them back to the altar and place them down. And so there's not a whole lot to this level. It's just mostly, moving around. Efficient movement. The complicated stuff starts to come in the next level. There are some little time saves here and there in this one, but nothing really major yet. So yeah, there will be one small thing coming up where I'm going to there'll be a little tunnel that I have to crawl through, and I'll be crouching while I do that, and I'll mash space. And that, I think in this level it saves about 1/4 of a second, and then in the entire game it saves maybe 1 whole second, so it's very important movement tech to remember. Here's where I do that. So I mash on spacebar as fast as I can. We're in the last little bit of this level. Just need to hit the correct switches here, 2, 3, 5, and 6, and then jump across and grab the statue, and we'll be on our way. There's the last red fox statue. So the category name of this is Beat the Game, No Duping, and the duping glitch allows you to skip 1 or 2 of the red fox statues, but it's frame rate based, and my frame rate is not high enough, so I can't properly do the duping glitch, so I run no duping instead. Alright, so this is where things are going to start getting really interesting. I'm going to try a trick here. We'll see how it goes. Basically, I get up on this fence and I jump, and I missed it. What I try and do there is jump off the post here on the end of the fence to get up to that floating little island out there with a statue on it. Normally, what we'll have to do is go back there at the end of the level after I've gone and gotten an upgrade, and then we'll get that third. But if I can get that first, then it saves about 10 or 12 seconds. But it's no big deal to not make it. It's fine. So now we get the first piece of the try, which lets us draw triangles, and is the primary mechanic of the game. So what it wants us to do is build a little ramp to go through that hole in the wall, but instead what we're going to do is come over here into the corner, make a triangle that is too small for us to fit in, and clip out of bounds and run into the room next door. And that skips basically everything in this level. So now we just grab the first statue, the second one is right here, and then we'll have to go back outside to grab the third one. So there's number 2. One more ramp to get us up to the doorway and out of here. And now we have to... This is what we would have skipped if we'd gotten the jump at the beginning. This backtracking here. So there's that. Not too much more to this level, just got to the altar. My game is hitching for some reason. That's odd. Don't usually have that happen. Hopefully that doesn't get too bad. And so you'll see me quick save and quick load after I place all 3 statues on an altar. It makes the portal to the next level spawn about 2 seconds faster. So I'll do that on every level and saves like 30 seconds overall. So this level, this doorway here is blocked with a big yellow barrier, and we cannot clip through big yellow barriers. Oh no. Okay. But luckily, we can just clip through the wall and go around it instead. So that skips most of this level as well. So here you'll see me placing some triangles on the ground to avoid going up and down little wedges, because those slow you down just a tiny bit. There, he wanders around randomly in that room, and luckily he stayed out of the way. It's one of the only bits of RNG in the run, and it's really only, you know, a tenth of a second or whatever to strafe around him. And now here we are, already at the 3rd statue. So we just have to get to the altar now. So this room is deceptively difficult, because it looks like it's just some simple jumping and platforming, but it's very easy to fall down because these bridges are pretty narrow, and if you fall you lose a lot of time. We got through there no problem though. And follow that up with a room that is deceptively easy, because I'm going to do a jump here that it looks like if I fall I'll go down to the very beginning of the level, but it's okay. The jump is extremely easy. So around here on to chapter 5. So in chapter 5 there are some big yellow barriers again on to the left and right of the main part where I come in. And you can technically clip around them in this level, but it's very difficult to do and it's not very fast. So instead we'll just have to hit the switches like we're supposed to. And now we're going to get the second piece of the try, which lets us walk on the triangles. And what I mean by that is when we put our feet on one of the triangles, our gravity shifts so that that triangle is like the ground to us. And so we can use that to walk along a series of triangles, to walk along walls and onto the ceiling. And as soon as you leave the triangle, your gravity will correct back to whatever the default for the area is. So we can use that for all kinds of interesting traversal throughout the run. So here's the second switch to get rid of the second big yellow barrier. To come in here, grab the statue, and then just run up the wall and out here. So now the final statue. It's pretty easy to get to. It's just making sure you know about the walking on walls mechanic. It's just hidden way up here. I'm gonna grab that and immediately jump back down. And this next puzzle, it's a little box puzzle where we need to put 2 boxes onto 2 switches. It's technically skippable, but to do the clip to skip it, it takes just about as long as the boxes. And so I always play it safe and just do the boxes instead. There's no risk of really messing this up. There is a chance that the boxes might fall off of a switch if I throw it wrong, but I don't think I did. There we go. So yeah, if the doors close while I'm grabbing it, it'll either push me away before I grab it, or it'll trap me in there with the statue. In which case I can, move the box back on, or just do a clip to get in or out. Alright, chapter 6. This is one of my favorites. Because the first thing we do, instead of going to hitting a switch to get into the next room, we're going to come to a corner and just clip out of bounds real quick. And hopefully we'll get it quickly. Uh-oh, I do not want to launch through the wall like that. Sometimes when you clip it... Dang, I five. So sometimes you'll get some momentum when you're moving. Okay, I have to redo the big triangle. That's okay. So the way clipping works is I basically draw a triangle that would shove me into a corner in a way that there's not enough space for me to beat. Oh, this is giving me a lot of trouble. This is usually pretty easy. There we go. So when there's not enough space for you to exist there, the game doesn't know what to do. It's going to either shove you back in bounds through the triangle, or it'll just shove you through the wall. And luckily here, it puts us through the wall. And so now we're kind of in between 2 rooms. We can just climb on up to grab a statue and be on our way. And just need to do a little bit of platforming here to run up to the next area. This next section of the level doesn't have a whole lot to it. There's not much speed tech we can apply here. You can technically clip through this gate that I'm about to open, but once again, it's pretty slow and difficult to do. So it's easy to just hit the switch. And then from here on out, it's pretty much just platforming and efficient movement. So we have to climb up here. That's just due to the construction of this area of the level, as the fox statue we need to grab is kind of floating in the middle of the room, so there's no way to go out of bounds and get to it faster. So just grab it and we're out of here. And you'll see me sometimes delete triangles that I'm heading towards, and that's just so that in case I jump and land on it, my gravity won't shift to what the triangle is, because when that happens it can slow you down a little bit. So, oh yeah, by the way, the gravity of this room shifted while we were gone. Just a neat little trick the game pulls, make the platforming on the way out a little more interesting. Uh-oh. Okay. I've never messed that jump up before, and I still haven't. It saves about 1/10 of a second to cut the corner by jumping there, and if you fall, it's very embarrassing. So, we're all good though. Now in this room, I have to put a triangle on the floor, because otherwise I might clip downwards. I'm going to stick myself in the corner. I made a triangle the wrong size. In most of the walls in the game, we'll have a kind of grid texture there, but this one doesn't, so it becomes a little bit harder to line it up, so I just kind of eyeball it. And now I am in between a bunch of rooms, so if I move too far to any side, I'll put back in bounds. So I'm going to very carefully move up past them, above them all, and now I just need to climb up here. I'm going to make a very specific triangle up here at the very edge of this room, and climb up until it thinks I'm no longer on the triangle, so that my gravity corrects and puts me on the very edge of it. Then I'm going to make a triangle here along where the ceiling is supposed to be. I have to be very careful because you don't need to be very far into the room for it to just shove you back in bounds. So I just grab the statue, and now we can head over here to this big ominous pillar, and this is where the altar is. Let me just run up, and here it is. And a fun little factoid, this is the only altar that is upside down, but it does not change the time that it takes for the portal to spawn. Now chapter 7, we're going to hopefully get the final save warp. This is usually the one that gives me the trouble the most. Okay, we got it, no problem. That one only saves about 10 seconds, so it's not a big deal if you don't get it. And then this is going to be the first time we use box jumping, where I'm going to stand on top of the box, jump off of it, click to grab it and pull it towards me, and then jump off of it again. And if I can do that right, I will be able to just kind of fly through the air a little bit. I don't know why I can't get this. Goodness. I practiced this a bunch this morning. My hands are cold. I'll blame that. It's cold here today, so my hands are cold. There we go. That's how it's supposed to look. And we're going to do that one more time down here, so we don't have to do the puzzle the proper way. And just grab that statue early. I need to weigh that lever down, or the switch down, to activate the elevator so we can climb on out of here. Alright, and then I have to climb all the way back up. This is technically the part of the level that you're supposed to do last, because what you're supposed to do, where I did the box jump, you're supposed to gather boxes up from all over the room and kind of build a staircase on up. But since we can box jump, we can just do that first, and it makes the level a little bit more efficient. So I'm going to clip through this wall really quick. There we go. I have to be careful here because there's a wall to my right, to the left here, that if I just run straight at it, I'll kind of bonk against the wall and just fall straight down into the void. So I have to run off to the side and kind of curve around into the room here. So that skipped a huge chunk of the level. It's very lengthy if you do that the intended way. So now we can just head on to the third section. And just like in the previous level, this section doesn't have a whole lot of speed tech to it, just due to the construction of the level. There's no clipping we can do, there's no fancy tricks, we just kind of got to do it quickly. This is also the first time we really bother with wooden walls, which are kind of on either side of me here. And wooden walls mean that we cannot draw triangles on them, so we have to draw around them. It's not really a big deal in the speedrun. It's much more of a big deal when you're doing your first casual playthrough though. So there's a tiny bit of speed tech here, where if you jump down just right, you'll fall on top of these blocks and just break them. Then you can pick up the statue immediately. The reason I don't really try and do that though, is because when the blocks break, they turn into little bits. And sometimes those bits just eat your jumps, and so you just have to wait for the bits to magically disappear after a couple seconds. Oh dang. Actually, it wasn't close enough to the wall. I'm gonna draw an extra triangle. There we go. Alright, quick save, quick load, and we're through. That was a pretty good chapter 7. Not the best, but pretty good. So chapter 8, we're once again going to immediately equip to skip a bunch of puzzles. This is much, much faster than doing it the intended way. It's a little bit tricky because the holes, or the walls on either side of me do have holes in them. Oh, that's not right. I'm gonna redo the big triangle. So there are those gaps on either side, which makes it very likely that I'll end up clipping, it'll just shove me up through those holes. And this is just not cooperating today. This is normally not the stuff. Try remaking this again. Give myself a little bit more space to work with. Alright. Hopefully it'll just nudge us through the wall. That's what I was talking about there. I got clipped through the wall, but then it just said, oh, there's a gap here, and shoved me upwards. So I'm going to draw this triangle down here and avoid touching the gray pillars here. If you land on one of those 2 gray pillars, then the game respawns you down there when you void out. So we fall on a triangle instead, and that lets it spawn back up at the beginning. So now we just have to climb up a bit more. And in this room, it introduces the green acid. It is an instant kill if you fall into it, so I'm very careful about my movement here. We have to come into this room to hit a switch to drain all the acid from this room and one other room. And then the other room has a fox statue in it, so we're going to need to go in there. We need to be able to go in there and not die, specifically. Alright, so... Oh, gotta climb up here now. And then up here, we're going to need to climb up. This next trick is one of the oldest tricks in the run. We found it very, very early on. And so you just come up to this ledge and then carefully back off of it. The reason you need to be pretty slow about backing off is there's a lot of momentum if you're even moving just a little bit. And with like pretty much any momentum, you'll drift away from the statue. You're too far away to be able to grab it. So here's that crate again. We just do a couple box jumps and we can grab the statue. And this is the room that had the acid in it till we hit that switch and drained it all. So now we just head back up to the altar and we'll be on our way again. Level 1, okay. So aside from the first clip, not so bad. I probably can imagine a light beam hits a thing and it activates something. So in this case, this first room, we hit a switch, it hits the crystal and opens up the gate to the next room above us. It's a little kind of tower tutorial here, so we have to come here and unblock this light beam to open up the room, the next one, and then we need to grab the crystal and put it in the pedestal, and now we can go up to the top level of this. And here we block that light beam so we can get to the statue. And what the game wants us to do now is continue going up and climb onto like basically the roof, but instead we're going to come all the way back down to where we started and just do a little clip here. Hopefully we get out of bounds right away. This is very good. I'm going to build some platforms here, do a little out of bounds running around. And see, there's a fox statue down there in the distance. I'm going to carefully line up and jump off and just grab it on the way down. Because when you are out of bounds, you don't see the backside of a wall because the walls don't have backsides, you know? They only have the front side that you're supposed to see. And so you can just kind of look through the walls into other rooms, and we can use that to our advantage and grab the statue early. So now, this clip, it looks pretty dangerous because there's the pit of acid below us, but it's not a big deal. Hopefully I can get this quickly. This is a clip that I find to be pretty difficult. Hopefully, no, not quite. You get it just right, it'll just immediately fling you up into the room that you need to go to. No, that's not it. It's not letting me through, so I'm going to redo this big triangle. Put about there. So hopefully I can get this quickly. This is one. There we go. That's good enough. It didn't give me the launch up into the room I want, but that's okay. I'll take that. Just kind of bump me through the wall. Alright. I'm gonna go up into here and grab the statue. And so since we clipped into this room, the door is still locked. We skipped all the puzzles that unlock it. And so we can't just go back through the door, so we have to clip out of bounds again. Nope. Oh, this is just not being cooperative today. I don't know what is going on. There we go. I'm gonna quick save and just drop on down. And now, just need to hit one switch that we can get out of here and go straight to the altar. A little bit more of the jumping while crouched through a tunnel. Save like less than 1/10 of a second. And we're out of here. Ooh, okay, chapter 10. So there's a trick here that I'm going to try once. I'm not expecting to get it, but I'm going to try it anyway because it'd be extremely cool if I did. So basically there's this big pillar here that we start the level in that just infinitely loops. But at the very top of it, above where we spawn in at when we loop, is a fox statue. And to normally get it requires a lot of running around, going through the game. So what I'm going to do is get this crate, just drop it right here. I'm going to carefully line myself up and try and box jump up to it. Nah. Okay. I think my hands are too cold to box jump too much. You need to get 22 box jumps in a row to get it, and it's very, very difficult. More than 3 or 4 is pretty tough. And I've never actually gotten it in a run, so I wasn't really expecting to get anywhere near it, but that's fine. So, if we had gotten that, we would have skipped this whole section that we're doing now, which is just a lot of blocking and unblocking light beams to open and close gates. So I need to line this up just right. And there we go, just run on through. There's a crystal there. You're supposed to pick it up and put it in a pedestal, take it to another room. But we're gonna skip that whole puzzle. And so instead we're just gonna run along here for a little bit. This is on the way to that statue I had mentioned earlier. It's all the way at the top of this pillar. There it is. Just drop on down. And so now we're just gonna basically skip the middle third of this level by clipping through this wall right here. There we go. Nice easy clip. Some walls are just very cooperative with the clipping, like this one, and some of them are not. So now I need to go onto the ceiling of this room, like so. And there's a statue over this way that I would like to grab. So I'm going to very carefully move, and luckily there's just enough distance where I can still grab the statue from this side. Otherwise, it's a very long, like basically an auto-scroller to get to that one. And now we get the third part of the try, which allows us to reflect light beams with our triangles. So, there it is. Activate the crystal and open up the door. Ah, there we go. There's the third and final statue. Now we just need to get to the altar. Technically, the reflections here are skippable, but clipping through these gates is actually pretty difficult. So, on our way to the next level. Chapter 11. This one has a very lengthy light reflection puzzle to start off with, and I don't like it when things take too long, so instead, we're going to come up here. There's supposed to be a little teaser area. Oh, like you can look out at the top of the level. But I'm going to just try and clip upwards through the bars here. Oh, very close, but not quite. Come on, please cooperate. Let's try one more triangle. See if this pushes us upward. There we go. Just launch on up here onto the roof. And you are supposed to get here eventually, but not quite this early. So I need to draw a triangle here, and it'll block the red laser beam that is blocking a path to the end of the level. Now I can come over here and drop down into this other section, and I'm going to do what's called a layer clip here. It's where you block yourself in with one triangle, and then just draw more triangles facing the same direction to slowly push you further and further back against the wall and eventually the game just is going to put you through one side like that, or it put me on the wrong side. Here we go. I can just jump through the gate. Gating through 3 triangles is really good. That's about as good as you can do that clip. And so now we can just run void out and puts us somewhere advantageous. So need to block those red lasers so I don't die. Now we can climb along over to the next section, the second section of this level. This one, there's once again not really anything we can do to get here any faster. There are some speed traps for the puzzle itself, but we just kind of have to climb along the wall to get there because of the, once again, the construction of the level is just such that it's not really close enough to anything that we can get here. Now, I'm going to do the strategy. I'm going to place a triangle very particularly. Hopefully, it will open this. What you're supposed to do here, it's not working, okay. You're supposed to reflect this light beam around the room a bunch of times so that it hits the rotating crystal enough times to open up the gate. Come on, let me through, please. Okay, there we go. Just barely enough. Luckily, there is a triangle. If you place it just right, it'll reflect the beam in a way that will hit the crystal enough times to open the gate. That was found by just a random person on YouTube. They just saw my PB. They're not a speedrunner or anything. They watched one of my videos and just said, hey, by the way, you can do that faster. So unfortunately, the comment seems to be lost to time. I tried to find it so I could find their name, but well, it seems to have disappeared. So now the final room, final statue at least, has a bunch of red lasers and a bunch of acid. We don't want to deal with any of that. So instead we're going to enclose ourselves in a little space here and hopefully just clip through this pane of glass very quickly. So we don't need to go all the way through like we do in other clips. We just need to kind of clip our face through the wall and then we can grab the statue with our teeth. And then we can be on our way. Now the final puzzle of this level, we need to drop this box on this switch, but with very particular timing, so we can get through the wall at the right time to get to the altar. Alright, Chapter 12, Out of the Box. This is one of my other very favorite levels, because the way it's supposed to go is it's basically an auto-scroller. It takes like 12 or 15 minutes, depending on how fast you can go. So instead, what we're going to do is clip out of bounds and just grab everything, because the level just starts you off with the altar and all 3 statues right here. But the statues are all blocked off by big yellow barriers that we can't clip through. So instead, what we're going to do is hopefully clip out of bounds very quickly. Not quite, almost. There we go. So just drop down on top of the yellow barrier here, so I can move over here. Hit one switch, hit one button to get rid of one barrier, carefully drop down onto the next barrier, and then draw some triangles out of bounds. Hit a switch from the opposite side of the wall to lower a second barrier, then grab the first statue, hit the third switch to get rid of the third barrier, grab the second statue, and then I can grab the third one, and we're out of here. And so that is skipping every single puzzle in that level. It's a lot of fun to do. Doing that level, it takes about 1:10 seconds if you're fast, which is very fun. Very much faster than the intended way. So Chapter 13 is unfortunately a lot less exciting. It does have a bunch of invisible platforms. Luckily, I have played this game a couple times before, so I know where they all are. So just some basic platforming at the beginning of this level. There's a little teleporter here to take us to the next section, and then we run through here and it flips our gravity. So this is a mechanic that was introduced in the previous level. They're called Kami. They're basically like bouncing light beams. They just kind of bounce around, they'll bounce off your triangles, and you need to get them to receptacles. So you need to bounce in there to open up a staircase to the next area. And then I can clip it through this corner and just drop down to get to that statue. And then we void out and we're back up here. So now around up here, and there's this wooden staircase here. This is what we extended with the bouncing Kami. And now, kind of the less exciting part of this level, just there's all these cubes floating here in space. and we just need to climb from one to the next. Not a huge deal, but not terribly exciting either. One thing I'm going to do here is there's one cube here made of wooden boxes, and I'm going to run on top of it and scatter all the boxes around, because that will cause the boxes to start voiding out and respawning at certain locations, and I'm going to need one box later on, and so that's kind of the fastest way to get one. So while I wait for the boxes to void out, I can come over here and get a statue. And there's another bouncing kami puzzle here. You have to use a little bit of timing to get the kami bouncing in just right. So we'll drop down here and carefully walk off this ledge and land down here. Just grab the statue, and I want to land on just to the ledge. I don't want to go too far into that little cube, because if I do, it'll respawn me down at the bottom. Whereas if I just stay on the ledge, it'll respawn me back up top, and saves probably 20 seconds to do that. And now here's the one crate that I need. Here's what I need it for, so I can jump on top of it if it'll stay still. The box is 0 gravity, so they're a little... they don't always cooperate. So that's what you need the box for, is to just climb on up to the next level. Technically, you don't need the box, but the other strat to do there is to draw a bunch of triangles, because they technically have a small amount of thickness. And so you can just draw a bunch of triangles on top of each other and build up a platform big enough to jump up to the crate, to the cube. But that just takes forever. It's annoying to do. I don't like doing it, but it's interesting. So now what we're supposed to do is there's an invisible wall along this pillar. It kind of curves outward, and you're supposed to draw triangles all along it. But instead what we're going to do is very carefully go underneath that wall and climb up the pillar itself. It's a little hard to do this quickly because of how narrow it is. But I've practiced this game a few times, so it's not so bad. Now I have to be careful when I'm up here, because on top of this pillar is another point where crates can respawn. And if they respawn while you're standing up there, then they just fling you off into space, and it's very easy to void out. Luckily, that didn't happen, so safely avoided that. And now we're on top of the invisible wall that we're supposed to be on the bottom of, and that makes it very easy to just climb on over there. So now we're in the final leg of this chapter, where we are going to get inside of this cube and go to the final puzzle and then completely skip it. It's actually a pretty fun puzzle. It's just a little light reflection that I enjoy, but it's much, much faster to just clip through this corner, and we'll grab the statue right away. Hopefully, if the walls will let me through. There we go. I can grab it on the way down. We void out. It'll put us up here. I immediately crouch, because this is another spot that crates can respawn at. I do not want to get launched off into the distance, so I'm going to try and move through here very quickly. I think we're safe. Alright, we're good. Alright. Now we just kind of backtrack a little bit to get to the altar. It was a pretty good level. It's been a pretty good run so far. Not amazing, but pretty good. Alright, chapter 14. This is the toughest level, probably. Yeah, I'd say it's the toughest. It has some of the hardest puzzles, and it has some that are absolutely required. First off, though, we come over here, and this is actually the place where I first figured out how to clip. I'm going to use a method that we only use here anymore, where it's called tilt clipping, where I corner myself with a triangle and then draw a second one underneath me and drag it upwards until it tilts me back through the wall. And it works really, really well there. Other methods of clipping just don't quite work so well, so we still use it to this day. And now I'm going to grab this yellow cube. I'll explain it later. It has a unique mechanic, don't worry about it. And then I'm going to run in here. This is called Laser Hallway. There's a bunch of crystals on pedestals here. Don't worry about those either. We'll come back to this, because I'm going to come into this corner and hopefully clip out of bounds very quickly. That was perfect. Wow. Alright. Just got that immediately. So that skips a huge kami bouncing puzzle that takes a very long time. It's basically an auto-scroller, so it takes like 2 or 3 minutes, I think. So now this room has been trolling me, because you need to take one of these pots, and inside of it is a little eyeball monster. Eyeball monster moves around like this, I need to pick it up and hopefully set it down, and before it moves I need to trap it in place. Please stay put, thank you. I still need to go quickly because the eyeball monster can just break the triangles if it wants to. Luckily it did not, it cooperated. When I was practicing before the run, it was not cooperative at all. It took me way too long to get out of there. Okay, here's that yellow cube again. So this is the yellow teleportation cube, and I need to go to the bottom of the level here. I don't want to go all the way down myself. Instead, what I'm going to do is throw this down there. I'm going to watch it. Okay, it went in. So there's a barrier there that cubes can pass through, but I cannot. So we throw the teleportation cube down there, and then when we run through a portal up on the top level, we'll just spawn. We'll teleport down there. So now this is probably the toughest of the entire run. It's called Laser Hallway because it's a hallway with a laser in it. And one of the other runners, Amaranth, has found a really great setup for this that I think I have already messed it up, so that's good. But it's okay. It's a really good setup that I messed it up enough to where I can adjust on the fly pretty well. Yeah, I'm actually gonna go back down and redo this. This first point of the laser, where it's hitting the ground here, is actually pretty farther up from where I want it to be. I want it to be right in the middle of 4 particular squares, right about there. I think this is looking better. It's a little bit off to the side, but I can adjust for that later. Okay, need to get it to that. There we go. This should be much better. It's still off to the side a little. But I can fix that here. I drag this corner up. Okay, it's back in the middle. Do one more here, and I'll reflect it all the way back to the very end of the hallway. Hopefully I've gotten it far enough back, and I do. So now here's those 3 pedestals we ran past before. And, oh, it's a little bit off center. I can fix that. Now I need to reflect again to get into the second pedestal. The setup or strategy that Amaranth came up does this a whole lot cleaner than this, which is very, very good. Luckily, I've messed it up enough times in pretty much the same way that I've got backup strats. So I need to do this. And almost there. So the problem is I'm coming at a pretty steep angle on this reflection. I'm just going to redo this one completely. So it's coming in a steep angle, which means that when it hits the crystal, it goes through the crystal and into the pedestal that it's on. And it just terminates the laser. How do I feel about that? Want to move it a little bit? Okay, should be good now. So we need one more reflection, and then Laser Hollow will be done. That'll actually work. I can make this work. Okay. Want to angle it back like this. Should be one more triangle and we're good to go. Back to the rest of the level. There it is. Okay. Now I have to be careful because I now need to run through the level. That's why I quick saved, because I just stood in the laser for too long and died. So that was kind of a mess, but it was less messy than it has been in the past, so not all that bad. Let me carefully get through that door. Okay, so remember the yellow teleportation cube. Here is the yellow portal that we run through and teleports us down to where the cube was, which is in here. And so now we're going to do a little reflection puzzle here. It's technically skippable, but the clip has been not very cooperative lately, so I'm just going to do the reflection because it's pretty easy and I like doing it anyway. It's a fun little puzzle to do. And see someone in the chat compared this to Portal, and like, yeah, it kind of is. It's structurally pretty similar, even though the exact mechanics are different. So I'm going to do a box jump here, and because the gravity in this room is a little weird, the crates have different gravity than we do, so it's a slightly different box jump timing on the inputs for it. but it's still not so bad. And so now we're out of here. So the reason I had to do laser hallway, spend all that time doing that puzzle, was because this altar is normally surrounded by an impenetrable barrier. And so completing laser hallway does two things. It gets rid of the barrier and also extends the steps to even get out here. So it's basically absolutely required. So that's why we had to do that. And so chapter 15, we're going to immediately clip through this corner and void out, because the spot it'll, there we go. The spot it'll respawn me at is just on the other side of a closed door. So we can skip one puzzle. And then we use these light beams to travel between little worlds on this level. Go to the stripy planet first. And going to climb up here. Have to get, it'll teleport us to another section of the level. It's very far away. So you come in here and it teleports you. And then instead of doing any of the puzzles, we're going to skip all of them. So first I clip out of bounds here. It's incorrect. These clips are just not being cooperative this morning. I don't know what's going on. Okay. Sometimes you can get this in one triangle. It just goes right away, and sometimes it does that. So, come on, please let me through. No, it's not working. No, okay, gonna redraw the triangle again. This is another spot where the walls, since it doesn't have a grid-like texture, it becomes pretty difficult to line things up exactly how you want it, but third tries a charm, we got it. So we're gonna carefully draw a triangle below us on the ceiling of a different room and run off here. We're now in the cylinder room, which is the final section of this leg of the level. We have skipped a ton of stuff and some unique. This whole section has there's a blue cube that matches your gravity. There's hard light beams that you run on, but we're just gonna skip all of those. Gonna come up to the top of the room and jump off, and now, because there's a statue up there, so I need to move the blue cube out of the way. So we're in a cylinder, and any geometry experts may know that cylinders don't have corners, so we're just going to make our own corner to clip through. And this will be another layer clip, like it was in chapter 11. Hopefully it goes well. It can go through right away. Is it working? It's not working. I'm going to do one more triangle. I'm not feeling great about this one, though. Oh, there we go. Just launched us through. Sometimes, instead of putting you through the wall, it'll put you through the triangle that you drew. But that time it was pretty cooperative. Just let us go right away. And so you're not supposed to be able to void out in that part of the level at all. And so it doesn't know what to do with you. It's like, you're not supposed to be here, and just sends you back to the beginning of the level. And this is just not cooperating again. So, do the line up again. There we go. Got a little launch outwards, but that's fine. And just going to run back to the central planet again, and now we're going to go to the square hole planet, named because it's a planet with square holes in it. And this level is pretty straightforward. It's probably the simplest section, maybe. Well, maybe. The third section's pretty easy as well. So I have to be pretty careful about staying on triangles in this section, because if I fall off of them, like I'm about to here, then the gravity in here is very strange, because you're tunneling through the center of a planet. I don't recommend doing that, so you just kind of, if you fall off, you'll just flip around a bunch. And so now we're inside the planet, and our gravity is outwards, towards the outside. The crates here have gravity down to the bottom, and the fox statue has zero gravity, it's just floating in the middle. So we come up to the top of the crate, we drop it on top of the statue, and that knocks it down, and we're able to just pick it up. So there it is, and now we're out of here. Just take a little teleporter and be on our way. So now we're going to move on to the third section out of 4 for this level, because this is another place that has an absolutely required puzzle at the end. I'll explain that when we get there. For now, we have to travel through a couple white beams. When you get to a section called Ghost Cubes, and it's called that because you're in a big cube structure like this, and there are some ghost cubes moving around in it. If the ghost cubes touch your triangles, it deletes them. So we have to be pretty careful when climbing up here, and move a specific path with a specific timing. Just like this, so that we don't, because if we're standing on a triangle, when it gets deleted, we just fall into the void. And if you void out here, you get sent back down to the bottom level. And we made it through, no problem. Just need to climb up this pillar here, do a little jumping, and we'll get to the final statue. So, just some nice, easy platforming. This part, it looks very intimidating when you first play it, because there's all these wooden walls that you can't draw on, there's all these ghost cubes floating around that will delete your triangles, but actually you don't need to draw any triangles, you can just jump across. So back to the central planet, and there's one more section to do. This is called Split Kami. Like I mentioned before, it is an absolutely required puzzle, because the altar is currently blocked off with a cube of big yellow barriers that we cannot get through at all. I have tried many times, spent many hours trying to clip through, and I just cannot get it. So I've figured out a pretty consistent strategy. Yeah, that'll work. It's a pretty rough strategy where I kind of look at it and go, I can make that work. It's a little bit more. Okay, I can make this work. So make something like this. There we go. I need to bounce them into one receptacle first. And the receptacles work by bouncing 4 kami into them, so they count up to 4. Interesting. And then, so you count them up to 4, and then it'll start counting down once you cut the kami off to get it to the other one, and count that one up to 4. So the right one is counted up to 4, and then the left one needs to count back up. And once they're both activated, then that's how you get the altar to be revealed. Hopefully that explanation made sense. I got a little fumbled my words there a bit. So now we're going into the final real level, but it's technically the second to last level. So there's a long fade in here, so I just have to wait, because I need to be able to see what I'm doing to be able to clip out of bounds immediately. Hopefully I can get this. There we go. So I have to void out either directly down or to the left. If I go to the right or backwards too much, it voids me out and just sends me back to the beginning for some reason. It puts me just at the start of the level instead of all the way here at the end of the level with the final puzzle. So I have to hit that button there, and it activates a red laser, and it also spawns a fox. The fox goes and hides while we're here, so we're going to need to get out of here. But we need to zap it with this laser. So what I'm going to do is put a triangle on the ground, because the fox hates triangles, wants to destroy them. And so it'll, once it sees that triangle on the ground, it'll run over and try and destroy it. And so I have made a bunch of triangles leaking off of that one, that when it destroys the one on the ground, it'll cause a chain reaction, reveal the laser, and zap it. So, we've zapped it with a laser, it's fine. We die in the laser, but the fox doesn't, it just takes a little nap for a bit. So the monk has picked up the fox friend, and we just need to carry him to the altar. Because you may have noticed there are no statues in this level. You just have to activate the altar with a pair of pressure plates. So we stand on one, the monk stands on the other. So since the monk has his arms full with this fox friend, that means we need to build bridges for him to walk across to get there. So not terribly exciting, but there is a speed strat coming up. It's called bully strats. It's where the monk is walking, and we're going to line up behind him and just sprint into his back and push him forward. He'll slide forward a little bit faster. And this saves about 10-12 seconds, so may as well do it, because otherwise you're just waiting. And it's very tricky to do, because when he walks, he kind of wiggles his hips around. And so his hitbox moves all over the place, and it makes him very slippery to try and push against. And people usually wonder, can you push him off the ledge? Which you can't. Once he gets close to an edge, he just will stop. But when he's walking around a triangle like this, I could delete the triangle out from under him, and then the game just fades to black, and you get a game over, basically. So I'm not going to do that. So we just have to sit here and wait. And you can't quick save and quick load pressure plates to get the portal to spawn faster, so you just have to sit and wait. So now here we are in the final level. whoever's running the timer, there's like less than a minute left in the run, just as a heads up. Maybe about 40 more seconds, I think. So yeah, this was an okay run. Had some issues here and there, but it was about as good as I expected it to be. So yeah, this has been Try, A Friendship of Madness. I'm Wesley. This has been a ton of fun. Thank you so much for having me for the marathon here. I want to give some shout outs to the Try community because it's a very small community, but we've all worked really hard on this run. So it's Rainius, who was the first person to run it, Mr. Mopey, who has found some good platforming strats, Feigl, Stan, Amaranth, Unbarred Slinky, Gelly, and Zerg Queen Rarity. We've all found various strats all over the place. So yeah, it's a ton of fun to do. Story spoilers, the monk was a blue fox. Time is coming up in about 3, 2, 1 time. So yeah, thank you for having me. I'm glad y'all enjoyed the run. And I'll throw it back to the Power Up with Pride staff and go whenever you're ready.
Thank you so much, Leslie, for that beautiful and relaxing run of Try of Friendship and Madness. Up next, Sex Rex is going to bring us Popo's Tower.